I am live. Welcome, guys. Welcome. First off, I'm so excited to be here today because this is my first episode of season four. Season four of Let's Talk with Amber Nicole podcast. I've been doing this for a while now, and this is my season four. So, to enter in with this topic that we're going to be discussing tonight, I'm a little apprehensive to talk about it only because I'm typically trying not to um, I try not to talk about trending topics. But however, this situation, after I actually read the facts of the case in on the documents or whatever, I was finally like, you know what, Lord, I feel like I'm being called to share some things about this, especially because if you've been watching me over the 6 years I think I've been doing this now, then you know that I am a domestic violence survivor. So I'm not speaking about something that I've never dealt with, and I'm not here tonight to throw shame on anybody. I will say that I'm not here to shame anyone. I'm not here to discuss wrongs, rights, all of that. Like a lot of the stuff, I'm not here for the negative aspect of specifically Diddy and Cassie. I really want to talk about the situation and the characteristic traits and things like that. So welcome, come on in, guys. Again, this is season four podcast with me, Coach Amber Nicole, and I'm just excited to get started today and really just go in and share with you guys. As you can see, this is part one. We're going to have a part two because there's a lot of things that I want to discuss and I don't want to try to cram it all in. So I'm going to talk about, there's going to be two different parts. Tonight, we're going to kind of talk about the facts of the case. Again, the facts come from the actual document that I have here. So this right here, I have the actual, oh, you can't even see it. Okay, you can't see it. You can't see it. I'm gonna have to I'll have to pull it up somehow. I think I can pull it up actually. I can do a share screen. Sometimes I'll try to pull it up, but I have the actual documents here where it's Cassandra Ventura versus Sean Diddy Combs and Bad Boy Entertainment, Bad Boy Records, and then some other record companies. This is complaints. This is Cassie's complaints. And first off, it's 30 something pages. So I'm definitely not about to go over all 30 pages of what happened and all of that. I did pull out some key factors though. So come on in, guys. And so I'm going to get started because this is a podcast, right? So while I am live, it is still a podcast. So this will be uploaded to my Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, and iHeartRadio. I think that's the only four I'm in right now. And maybe another one, but I can't think of it right now. So if you haven't already, subscribe to my YouTube channel. Go ahead, at helloambernicole.com. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. I have other podcast episodes on there. Also, if you want to just listen to it in the car while you're riding, then follow me on Spotify, Apple Podcast, iHeartRadio, and Amazon Music. All right, let's get started. Okay, so I really want to just go in and start really discussing the facts of the case. As you all know, it's trending everywhere. I will say one thing, because as a Christian woman, I can really see where God is like, I'm tired of people using my name. I'm tired of people coming out and saying, oh, I'm a believer. Oh, I'm a Christian. And then behind closed doors, there's all this evil and things going on. Like that right there is God's like, don't be using my name to make yourself look good. Meanwhile, behind closed doors, this is how you're treating my daughters. Behind closed doors, this is how you treat people in general. So I think a lot of what we see that's coming up in the media is really a lot of that, where God's like, listen, you know what I'm saying? So I want to get into the facts of the case a little bit. Again, like I said, you can't read this, unfortunately. Maybe if I get closer. No, but my background, it doesn't allow you. I'll load it out. You can go online and look it up. I'll put the link in there later on so you guys can see specifically what it is, okay? Because I do really want you guys to be able to see what I see. However, let's start with the facts of the case, okay? So we're going to go over that. Again, my facts are coming directly from what Cassie put in the court document. So this is not what I got off of social media. This is not what I heard somebody say. This is literally what Cassie said. These are her words that her attorney wrote up and put in the court document. So what I'm going to talk about and the things I'm going to discuss is directly from her. This is not hearsay. This is from the court document that I have here. So obviously the facts at the beginning, we know that, or maybe you don't know. What I got was that Diddy and Cassie were together. I took notes too, guys, because I wanted to make sure I got key points out. So Diddy and Cassie were together from 2007 through 2018. She was 19, he was 37. First off, right there, that's a red flag for me. I know some people say age is nothing but a number. I don't believe that. Sorry, I don't. Because me at 39, I couldn't imagine being with a 19, 20, 21-year-old. The mindset that I had at 19 and 20 and the mindset I have now at 39, world of difference, world of wisdom, the things I've gone through, the level I have, like I couldn't imagine being with someone at that age. So already right there, her at 19 and him at 37 was too much, right? He should have known better, I guess I would say. At 19, you see this dude who has money, whatever the case may be. However, let me get into the facts, because it isn't exactly what we would think on the outside. We're thinking, oh, it's just about money. She's seen that he had all this money, so she wanted to be a part of him involved. That's actually not what she said. Actually, what she said was basically Diddy forced her into a relationship. Her words were that she denied him multiple times on multiple occasions until eventually she just was like, you know what? I'm just going to go on a date with him so he can stop asking, stop bugging me. Again, 19 years old, she's a kid still. Come on. You know, imagine your 19-year-old child. Like, you know what I'm saying? Yes, you're grown, but you're not, right? To this grown man who had a lot of influence at that time. So eventually she went on the first date with him. She just was like, okay, fine, let's go on a first date. I believe she was signed to Bad Boy at that time already, by the way. But she went on the first date with him. The very, very first date, she said he handed her a pill. She asked him what that pill was. He told her, don't worry about it. You'll like it. Just take it. Later, she learned that that pill was ecstasy. Very first date, here she is at 19 years old. Here's this grown-ass man giving her ecstasy. Right there, for me, was like, okay, wow. Here's one thing that frustrates me a lot about the situation. It frustrates me that people with power or money, actually, let me backtrack. What frustrates me that people who don't have money or power seem to think that people who have money and power are like superhuman. Like they don't have emotions, or they don't have downfalls, or they don't have the regular things that we have to deal with on a day-to-day basis. So that frustrates me. So when I see a lot of this stuff on social media, it frustrates me that they all talk about, we look at celebrities as if they're not human, not realizing that they deal with the same traumas, the same things that we deal with. But so obviously you see this on the first day with him giving her ecstasy. That's crazy that even occurred to her. But it just shows that the power and the money and all of that literally just amplified who he was as a person. Because that's honestly what money and power does. So many people think that, oh, if I just get the money, then my life would be so much better. But you think that you don't have to do the healing work from the trauma that you endured. But really what money does, it just amplifies who you already are. Diddy already had this character trait before he even had money. And what happened was the money that he had just amplified it. The power that he had just amplified who he already was. That's all money does. It just amplifies and makes you more of what you are, and not, obviously it helps you with all the other stuff, but I'm saying your character, that's what it does. But as I was going through it and I was reading the document, it also stated he controlled basically her entire life, pretty much. I mean, she was signed to Bad Boy. He controlled the events she went to. He controlled the clothes, the makeup she wore, everything she drove, the houses, the cars, everything, pretty much every aspect of her life. He was in control of. There was nothing that she could do or couldn't do without him knowing, being around, being aware, just every part of her life, he had to have some form of control over it. I guess that's why a 37-year-old would be with a 19-year-old, which was to have some level of control. Not to say that if it was someone his age that there wouldn't be any control there. However, we see that somebody at 19 and somebody at almost 40, it's a big difference in wisdom and guidance and age and thought practices. But another thing that she had pretty much put in there is how he was addicted to prescription drugs. Her words was he kept prescription drugs laying around the house like candy. And pretty much what was happening at that time is that once he started like really controlling her, once she started really being manipulated by him and being forced to be in this relationship, pretty much she started doing the prescription drugs because she numbed out. She was like, if I'm going to be in this situation, then I'm just going to numb myself out. That's why a lot of people are on drugs today, whether they're poor and have nothing or rich and have everything. They numb out because they don't want to deal with the trauma of what they're gone through. They don't want to have to face it. A lot of times it's deep rooted. Like it ain't just you was getting whooped when you was little. Like it's really some deep rooted trauma that people have endured, and we never know these things. I'm gonna go into a little bit of some things that she discussed that if you are not if you have kids around, they should not be listening to this. So I'm just giving you a fair warning right now. Put your headphones on, take the phone away from around the kids if you have kids around, because this next thing that I'm about to discuss is not kid friendly. Another thing, okay, so she had a list, a specific list, and now I'm about to read specifically out of the document, by the way, of multiple things that he did to her. This is an overview of the list, and then she has specifics in the paper. That's what happened. That's what you have to write down. You have to write an overview and then specifically break down the allegations that happened. So I'm just going to read off the list that she said that happened when she was in that relationship with him. She said that for Miss Ventura, she said there were dark times where she spent. There was dark times where when she spent trapped by Mr. Combs in a cycle of abuse, violence, and sex trafficking. Among other violent and unlawful acts, Mr. Combs raped Miss Ventura in her own home after she tried to leave him. He often punched, beat, kicked, and stomped on her, resulting in bruises, busted lip, black eyes, and bleeding. He blew up a man's car, which that man was Kid Cudi, by the way, because if you watch social media, you can see that Kid Cudi basically said these allegations were true, that Diddy did blow up his car when he found out that he was talking to Cassie. He blew up a man's car after he learned that he was romantically interested in Miss Ventura, so he set Kid Cudi's car on fire. He forced Miss Ventura to engage in sex acts with male sex workers while masturbating and filming the encounters. He ran out of his apartment with a firearm in pursuit of a rival industry executive whom he learned was nearby. I'm not sure what that's talking about. I didn't read that. He demanded that Miss Ventura to carry his firearm in her purse just to make her uncomfortable and demonstrate how dangerous he is, because she was scared of guns. He introduced Miss Ventura to a lifestyle of excessive alcohol, substance abuse, and required her to procure illicit prescriptions to satisfy his own addictions. That's just some of the, I mean, that stuff alone is like, wow. So whenever I really, really want people to gain tonight that when you start thinking about, oh, because this person has money, what about this saying when they say, I'd rather cry in a Bentley than in a Toyota Corolla or a Hyundai or whatever that saying is? First off, I'd rather not be crying at all. I don't care if I'm in a Bentley or a Toyota Corolla. It is not worth the trauma and the nightmares and the PTSD and the busted lips and having to put makeup on. Like, I hate the ignorance of people when they try to make it seem like because a person has money that they should just be able to deal with trauma in their life. It's okay to be beaten, and the domestic violence was fine because I got money and I have this nice house and I have this lifestyle that I'm living. Money ain't worth that. Money ain't worth that at all. And if you read the stuff that she had to endure, she was saying how like he would have these FOs. FO stands for freak offs. And that's where the sex trafficking part is, where she said he would hire sex workers to have sex with her, not him. He was just masturbating on the side. So, and then he would tell them what to do. She said it was like he would set up like a whole movie setting with the phone and have different candle lights and have everything all set up for her to sleep with other men. I'm just getting mad in my brain. I'm sorry, guys. Just even thinking about that, because as I'm listening, not listening, as I'm reading the things that she endured, I'm getting mad and madder and just getting so angry, because it's like, to think that all of us had this, because obviously he's a musical genius. He made so many good hits. He's Diddy. Of course he did. He got so many. Bad Boy was hot for a long time. The people who came off of Bad Boy was hot for a long time. So to think about a man who had this amazing public image, but in private, the way he mistreated the people that was around him. It wasn't even just her. She dealt with the brunt of it, but he was horrible to everyone around him. Another thing that just really frustrates me, or that's crazy, that not crazy, but about the situation, is the fact that she tried to leave him on so many occasions. You read that document, the document talks about how she tried to leave him so many times, where she ran. That's why she was getting into other relationships. She got into a relationship with Cuddy. She got into a relationship with somebody else. I don't remember his name. But she got, well, actually, his name isn't mentioned now that I think about it. But she got into a relationship with somebody else. She tried to get into other relationships to pretty much try to have someone else protect her. But even when she tried to do that, he blowing up cars. The other guy she was in a relationship with, that's not mentioned. Diddy called him personally and basically threatened his life and told him that if he don't stop talking to her, that this is what's going to happen. So he stopped talking to her too. So it's like everywhere she tried to turn for protection, she ran to friend's house, she went to her parents' house, she ran so many different times. He would have like his assistants, he would have other executives, he had his attorney, he had multiple people literally come and find her and threaten her and tell her that if you don't come back, this is what's going to happen to you. And when she came back, of course he beat her. She recalled the time, there was a time I read where she called where he had beat her so bad that she was running in a hotel room, by the way, where she was running from corner to corner to try to get away from him. He was throwing stuff at her from the room. He punched her. She was on the ground, like around the toilet, she said, and he was kicking her as she's on the toilet. Like, that level of monstrous behavior is what happens when you have demons and trauma and it goes unchecked. And then she said he would get worse when he would do drugs and drink alcohol, which is a lot of the time, she said a lot of the time he was drunk and doing drugs. So whatever he was dealing with, I don't know, because I don't know his backstory. I don't know what trauma he dealt with. Clearly a broken man. Whatever he went through, whatever demons he went through, whatever traumatic situation he went through, I don't know what that is. He hasn't said nothing about it, so I'm not going to speak on it. However, it is very clear that this man had unhealed trauma. And I'm tired of you guys thinking that you can just go through life and not heal your hurt, that you can just hide your pain and not do something about it, that you can just be molested, that you can just get beat, that you can be bullied, that you can go through whatever it is, watching your mama go through domestic violence. And if you think that is not something that's going to be detrimental to your life, I'm sorry, but we have had enough people come along. We have enough people see pain, enough monstrous behavior. We've seen enough of that for you to understand. I hope you understand by now that this is not normal. This is dysfunctional. And this is the result of what happens when you don't heal. This is the result of what happens when you suppress your pain. This is a result of what happens on both ends. On both ends, because what happened is after Cassie, um, after she dealt with the pain, after she finally got out of the home. And I was going to say some other things, but at this point, I pretty much kind of said the basis of what she had to endure and what she dealt with for almost 11 years, all trying to leave him, trying to get away from him, trying to escape from him. So the people who were saying, oh, it's just about money and she didn't want to leave. No, she tried to leave so many different occasions. And he basically made everyone so fearful and so scared, threatened people's life, blowing up cars and letting them know that she cannot get away from me. No matter what she tries to do, she belongs to me. He treated her like she was his property. So this is what happens. This is what happens when you go through life and you act like you're not in pain. When you go through life and you act like nothing bothers you. When you go through life and you act like because this happened when I was 5 years old, I'm okay now, right? So her after effects basically is she shared how she had nightmares from the abuse, which of course you would. How could you not have nightmares after you got beat repeatedly? You tried to run repeatedly. You fear for your life repeatedly. And you had someone basically tell you and show, not even just tell you, show you that you can't get away from me and I'm in control of you and there's nothing you can do about it. Like imagine living a life of fear like that. So yes, of course, I imagine she had nightmares. She said she was doing drugs, and she eventually obviously became addicted to drugs and alcohol. And even after she got out of the relationship, she still remained addicted because now she's having nightmares. She started having suicidal thoughts. Her relationship with her family and friends, she said, was strained. I'm assuming that they're probably better now, but she said for a long time it was strained because she just couldn't get her life in order. So all these are after effects. She pretty much had PTSD from the situation of dealing with him. So after she got out that relationship, she got inpatient treatment and she got intensive therapy. Now, let me just share something, especially because for me, who I dealt with domestic violence for almost 11 years, 10 and a half years, I was in a relationship with someone. So I know how it feels. Obviously, the person I was with didn't have the magnitude and the power or the money of Diddy. But what you guys don't understand is money had little to do with that when it came to the psychological aspect of it. When it comes to what it does to you after you're done, after you're out of the relationship, or even when you're in the relationship, how it diminishes you, how it makes you feel like you're nothing, how you lose confidence and self-worth, how you feel like you're just nobody. Literally, you start feeling like you're nobody. And so when you start numbing yourself, thank God I guess I had enough strength, or I had enough, I don't know what to say, but I had enough something to not get into drugs and alcohol and numb pain. I didn't get into that capacity. However, I know how it felt to just pretend like it wasn't happening when you're in front of people and acting like um, things are okay. But so for me, I really wanted to also talk to you guys about like when you don't, what trauma, this is what trauma looks like. It looks like what Diddy did to Cassie, but also with Diddy, that's what happens when you don't heal. And I know a lot of people talk about healing today. Let's talk about it. I know a lot of people talk about healing today. I know a lot of people say you need to heal, you need to get therapy, you need to take care of you. But the problem is therapy don't work if you don't work it. I had a conversation today with a coworker, and he was just saying, about a friend or someone that he thinks needs therapy. And I was sharing with him, therapy don't work if you don't work it. If you're in your therapist's office and you're only sharing with them a little bit and you're not sharing with them the deeper things, it don't work. Therapy don't work when you're not honest. When I have a coaching client, when I have a client that comes into not my office, I do virtual coaching. When I have a client that gets on the line with me and they're only sharing the overview of what they think the problem is. Oh, the problem is they want to be married. Oh, the problem is they want to be in this job position. They don't know how to get it. Oh, the problem is, like, it's usually superficial stuff that they feel like the problem is. But what you guys don't realize is majority of how people show up today, how they act today, is specifically because of some unhealed something that you refuse to talk about. You refuse to talk about. The men that refuse to say, I was molested when I was little. There is a lot of men who dealt with it just like there was women. The women that refuse to say that I was beat or I watched my mom get beat, I watched my parents do drugs. The things that you endured in your homes that you do not talk about. All of those demons that you are having inside of you right now that you are holding on to, this is what causes you to be like Diddy. You may not be on that level of where I'm beating women, because everybody, how trauma shows up in your life, it doesn't show up in the same way. You don't respond to it in the same way. You may be responding to it where you don't let nobody get close to you. You don't know what it feels like to have true love. You don't know what it feels like to even give love because you don't let nobody close to you. You don't know what it feels like to really just let go and be vulnerable. And when you can't be vulnerable, you can't really be, you don't know what love is. And you have this wall up. But guess what happens when there's a wall up? You can't give love and you can't receive love. So now you have all these people who don't know how to be in relationships. You like men, you like women, you desire someone, but you can't be fully enthralled in that relationship and really show up as the highest version of yourself so that it's a happy, loving, caring relationship, because there's something in you that you've blocked off, that you've suppressed for years, and you think it ain't bothering you. And you think that's not what the thing is that's controlling why I'm this way in the relationship. And you think that's not why I have this anger and this disdain towards women, because I watched my mom be this way, or I watched my dad do this, or I watched my uncle, or whatever the case may be, or someone treated me like this. So now I have this anger towards people. You think what happened to you when you was 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 isn't affecting you because you're a grown adult and you're 35 years old. But guess what? If you have not addressed it, if you have not talked to anyone about it, if you have not gotten the healing from it, Jesus and therapy, because yes, Jesus worked, but also you need therapy because you need practical steps on how do I get this thing out of me, because I'm tired of being this way. I'm tired of showing up like this. I'm tired of being angry. I'm tired of having an attitude with everybody. I'm tired of feeling like I'm never going to have the person in my life that I want to have. Guess why? Because you ain't taking care of you. Because you refuse to be honest about what happened to you as a child. And you think that because you suppressed it for 10, 15 years, that it's not affecting you today. Well, I'm telling you now it is. And I'm a witness from it. Because for me, when I was 12 years old, and my story is out there in the open, go, I got books I wrote about it. So this ain't nothing that don't nobody know. When I started at 10 years old, I was molested for a year from a family friend. And I didn't tell anybody. And at 11 years old, I was pregnant. 11, I got pregnant. My daughter will be 27 on May 30th. I was at 11 years old, I got pregnant. I had her at 12. Now, people in the neighborhood knew that happened. However, I did not get therapy. I didn't go to anyone for help. I went to church, but I was a kid. I'm not talking about this. Fast forward to 20. When I got to 20 years old, I entered into a relationship with a man who I knew I didn't really want to be with. But there was this level of power that he had in him. And I dated him. And for almost 11 years, I endured being in a domestic violence relationship, mentally, verbally. It started all verbal. Verbal becomes mental. Then it was physical abuse. I dealt with that. Why? Because I refused to get healing. Because I'm fine. I'm 20 years old. I had my daughter when I was 12. That's over. I'm not dealing with that no more. That man that happened to that man is in jail. He's still in jail today. Therefore, it shouldn't be bothering me. But that's a lie. And you're lying to yourself right now. Every time you say that the things that happened to you when you was little, or even as a teenager, You're lying to yourself if you have yet to speak about that and work out why is it still hurting you today. Because I have seen grown women, 60 years old, in my not my office. I keep wanting to say my office. It's not an office, virtual office. In my virtual office, who have literally when they start speaking about their hurt and their pain, they become a 7-year-old little girl again because the pain that they endured happened when they were 7. This is how you get into relationships. This is how Diddy became the way he was because of the pain that he didn't want to discuss, the things that he endured, and he tried to hide it with money and whatever the case may be. And he tried to pay everybody to shut up and not do anything instead of just going to therapy and getting the help and doing the work and talking about what he went through. Then he became a monster, and now he killed his own legacy because of he refused to just get therapy and help and Jesus in therapy. Because at the end of the day, you need Jesus too. You need both. You need both of them. I didn't become me today. I'm a confidence coach today because me being in that relationship, I lost every bit of confidence that I had. And I spent it's been 8 years now. 8 years daily rebuilding my confidence. 8 years. I can always go back to that person because I was that person once. I can see the enemy trying to mess up this live. It's all good. It's all good because I know that there's somebody out there that needs to hear what I have to say, so that you can try to mess up whatever you want to. The devil is a lie. I'm going to keep on talking because I know somebody needed to hear this message. This message isn't as much about Diddy and Cassie as it is about you, whoever's watching this, who's ever hearing this, whoever is resonating with the words that's coming out of my mouth, that it is time for you to speak about what you endured. It is time for you to talk to somebody about it. You don't got to tell everybody else about your business. You don't have to tell the whole world. I mean, I chose to do that because that's how I live out my healing. And that's how I help others, because I use my coaching business became what I needed when I didn't have it. I became what I needed. I became the woman that I needed when I was going through that domestic violence relationship. I became the woman I needed somebody to say to me when I was that 12-year-old little girl after I got molested, who I needed to talk to at that time. I became her because I didn't have her. So now I am her. And now I help other women get through that. And having money don't change that. As you can see, Cassie was a millionaire. And it didn't change her from not being in a domestic violence relationship. So money don't stop the pain. Money don't make it go away. The only thing that money gonna do, it may make you look prettier, and you can buy more costly makeup to cover it up because she covered up all the bruises and things that she had. But I don't know who this message is for. But I know for sure that there is someone out there right now that is saying and thinking that the pain that they endured is not hindering where they are in their life right now. And I'm telling you right now, you are a lie. And until you can show up and be the most vulnerable, open person, until you can share your story without crying, that's how I knew I was healed. When I can share what I went through, all the things I've gone through, the domestic violence I went through, the psychological things I went through, the lack of confidence that I had. But once I got to a space where I could share that with people to help, I knew I was healed, because I don't care what nobody thinks about me anymore. I was so shameful when I was going through it. I was so shameful after I got out of it. I was ashamed. I was ashamed to even talk about what happened to me as a little girl, even though a lot of people knew. But who didn't know, I didn't want them to know. I didn't want them to know. And some of that messed up with some of the relationship with my daughter, because I didn't want people to know that she was my daughter, because then then I have to go explain, oh, well, I wasn't actually having sex at 11 years old. I really had got molested. And I didn't want to have to share that story with everybody. And I wasn't at a space where I could say, I don't care what you think. Think what you want. If you want to think I was fast, oh, well. If you want to know my story, I don't have a problem with telling you. I wasn't there. I'm there now. Now I can say, hey, I have a daughter. I'm 39 and my daughter will be 27 on May 30th. And I just shared to you what I went through. However, as somebody else asked me, I got to a space where I don't care what you think, because this is my story. This is my life. And this is what I endured. That's how I can help people Again, this is another plug. When you find a therapist or when you find a coach, find someone who's doing the healing work. Don't just be going to coaches, therapists, pastors, or anybody. Ask them if they have a pastor. I mean, ask them if they have a therapist. Are you working out your healing? Are you working out? Are you self-developing yourself? Are you doing the work that you asking me to do? Because trust and believe, I got a spiritual coach, I got a therapist, I got business coaches to help me financially. I'm not just out here in life just coaching and helping and don't got people helping me too. No. So again, the message that I'm speaking today, yes, I'm started out about Cassie and Diddy, but at the end of the day, I really wanted to talk about the people who needed to watch to show that all the money in the world don't change the fact that you need to heal your heart. And there are specific studies that are shown that people who don't heal the trauma in their body gets cancer. Yes, there are. Go look it up. Don't take my word for it. Go look it up and ask that does unhealed trauma cause cancer? Because it does. When your body is in pain, your back is hurting, all of the things that happens in your physical body is due to the stress and the things that you refuse to talk about. And your body knows it. You don't have to talk about it out your mouth. Subconsciously, your body knows that this thing happened when I was little. This person mistreated me. This betrayal happened. This thing happened. And I don't want to talk about it because I'm ashamed of it. The only person you're hurting is you. The other people you're hurting is your kids, because if you have children and you have not worked out your healing, there's no way you can show me the most loving person, because you don't even know what that looks like. Because how can you tell me that you love somebody else more than you love your own self? I just don't believe it. I don't care what nobody say. I don't believe you can love them more than you love you. How can you not take care of you? That's why you overeat. That's why you're a glutton. Because I'm going to fill my mouth with food and I'm going to eat all this pain away. I'm going to drink and go party. I'm going to have sex with all these dudes. I'm sorry, but a lot of the women that's out here acting like they just so free, they not free. They in bondage. Had to say it. Didn't expect this message to go this way, but I guess as we hear now, then that's not freedom. Sleeping with everybody because you just want to. That's not freedom. You got your booty all out on social media twerking for the world to see. That's not freedom. That's bondage. Because that's attention. I want people to see me. That's attention. That is a hurt individual who is asking for someone to love me, but they just don't know how to ask it in the right way. So again, I don't know who this message is for, and share it with your friends or share it with whoever you think it's for. This is my podcast episode. Again, if you have not subscribed to my podcast, go to Apple Music, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio. It's on all of there. Because what I do and the work that I do and the healing work that I do, this ain't for me. I've done my work and I continue to do my work, and I don't have to help nobody. I do this because I see so many women who refuse to heal. I do this because I see so many men who are hurting and hurting other people. Hurt people is a real thing. I see a lot of people hurting each other because they refuse to do the work on themselves. So you spew your pain out on everybody else, and everybody else is paying. And all these men talking about how horrible women are, and all these women talking about men ain't nothing, and the relationships suck today because none of y'all want to sit and look at yourself and say, I need to do the work on me because I suck. Because this happened to me and I'm not. What happened to you is not your fault. It ain't. It ain't your fault. But your unwillingness to get help for it, your unwillingness to talk about it, your unwillingness to get therapy and coaching and going to church and seeking Jesus again, your unwillingness to do that, that's you. That's all you. No one can hold you accountable no one can do your work for you. You can't pray it away. You can't go to the altar and wish for God to take it away. I'm not saying he can't. But there is works that needs to be done behind healing. And it starts with you confessing and saying, this happened to me. I'm ready to get help. I endured this pain. I'm ready to get help. This is still bothering me. That's why I'm angry. That's why I don't like people. That's why I block people off. That's why vulnerability is so hard. Vulnerability ain't hard. Vulnerability is hard for people who refuse to get the healing, because guess what? When you become healed, vulnerability isn't hard for me. You want to know why? Because when I became healed, I can see another hurt person and know who I can and cannot give my heart to, who I can and cannot have in my space. Because when you heal, you see difference. You can hear somebody talk and say, oh, that's a hurting person. You can see their actions and what they do and say, oh, he's still hurting over there. I don't care how much money you got. I don't care what kind of house you live in. I can tell you behind closed doors, that relationship ain't happy based on how y'all show up. Because when you're healed, you can see certain things that a hurt person can never see. So if you get anything else out of the Diddy and Cassie situation, not talking about Diddy or Cassie, like at the end of the day, that's let God judge. That ain't my job. It's disgusting. He need to go to jail for it. But let God judge. He gonna have to be the one. I do believe he need to be held accountable, and money should not be the way he needs to be held accountable, because money is the way that how he was able to shut up everybody from everything he was doing anyways. So I don't believe money is the way, because money is easy. Let me throw a few dollars at it and then I don't have to deal with it anymore. So I don't think money is enough. I do think there needs to be some real repercussions to what he dealt with. And I'm grateful, and it's nice to see Cassie, how she's doing right now. You know, she has a husband, she has kids, and she's finally living the life. That's awesome. But again, this message that I'm speaking tonight, it wasn't because I want to jump on the trend of let's talk about Diddy and Cassie, or jump on the trend and let's talk about how horrible Diddy is and how whatever about Cassie. No, this message I wanted to put out tonight is because I want you to see what you need to do, how you need to show up, how you could be better, the healing that you refuse to talk about. I want you to do the work and use Diddy and Cassie as a way of saying, I don't want that to happen to me. I don't want it to happen to my daughter. If you're in a domestic violence relationship right now, trust and believe that your children see exactly what you're going through. And if you don't want them to turn around and do the same thing that you're doing, then it's your job to be an example of what you want them to see, because we are the example as parents of what we want our children to see. And if you are not being a good example as a parent, then it is your job to do it. You cannot expect them to not do what you see. That's why there's a lot of dysfunctional relationships, because they've seen their mama do it. And I think that dysfunction is how you live. And dysfunction is not okay. You should not be yelling at each other. You should not be putting hands on each other. You should not be controlling the relationship. That is not how relationships should be. That is dysfunction that you've seen and you think it's functional, because people get comfortable in dysfunction. Trust me, I know, because I've been there. Again, it wasn't until I got on the other side where I finally was able to see, oh, that's not how real relationships is supposed to be. Oh, that's not how a man is supposed to treat a woman. Oh, that's not how a woman is supposed to talk to a man. You're not supposed to be belittling him, putting him down, and making him feel like he ain't nothing. We're supposed to be uplifting him. We're supposed to be teammates. We're supposed to be helping serve each other. Relationships are about service, not about what I'm getting out of it, what you can do for me. And unfortunately, too many people are in relationships to say, what can you do for me? What you bring to the table? No, sis. No, bro. What can y'all do for each other? And how can we make this legacy and be here together? You can't do that, and you can't see that if you do not do the work on you. And you will keep having a skewed view of how relationships are until you finally say, I want to do the work. Trust me, I'm on the other side of it now. So I'm not speaking from what I think. I'm speaking from what I know, from getting therapy, from getting help, from getting spiritual counseling, from being on my face, from reading the Bible. Jesus and therapy is my life. So again, guys, if you don't get nothing else out of the whole Diddy and Cass situation, if you don't get nothing else out of anybody, any of the men that's come forth, like I tried not to be watching all this stuff, but I had to say something about this. Like I said, I felt God was really speaking to me and saying, speak about this specific situation. You know, again, Cass is doing well now, but this happens all the time. There is a lot of people right now where you think they may be having these happy, loving relationships, but behind closed doors, it's hell. And they can't come out and they don't want to say nothing because they're ashamed of how people are going to react. They don't want to get the help because they're ashamed of how we react, because we have gotten to a society where we don't have compassion for people anymore. We've gotten to a space where we feel like, oh, that's their business. That ain't none of my business. You can watch a woman get beat on the street and you just look at her and take out your phones and record it and not do nothing about it. That's the space we are in right now. And it's sad to watch. But I pray that once you guys start doing the healing work, the society gets better, because when you do the healing, then we have a better community. When we do the healing, we have better families. When we do the healing work, we raise better children. When we do the healing work, we have better connection in a household where we have mother and father in the household, because we've done our work and now we can be in this home together. But again, it starts with you. You have to do it. You have to not look at what everybody else did. Look at yourself and say, what do I need to do to be a better human being? How can I show up and do my work? Talk about the things that I endured so that I can be better. And I'm praying for you. Again, whoever you think needs to hear this message, if this message is for you, I'm glad you're watching. If it's not for you, share it with somebody. I did say I was going to do a part 2, but honestly, I feel like this part 1 is all I needed to say. I think I pretty much drove the point of what I needed to talk about. I don't want to go outside of what God is sharing. I let the Holy Spirit deposit on me what needs to be said, and I think I really got to the point. And if you need to go back and rewatch this, I have it on my YouTube channel. And later on today, I'll be uploading it to my podcast, which is on, again, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Amazon Music. I'm going to be uploading it on there. If you want to watch it later, send it to somebody who needs to hear it. But if you got nothing else from, again, the Diddy and Cassie situation, I pray that you got the fact that you guys need to learn how to hold yourselves accountable and get the healing word that you need so that you don't end up in this. Or if you are in this, get out of this. So I thank you guys. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Again, I'm Coach Amber Nicole. You enjoy the rest of your night. Peace and love, guys. Bye.